Thank you so much, Mr. Stoyanov, for joining us here. The first question would be, what is the legal situation for homosexuals in Bulgaria? Are they allowed to marry? Can they register their partnership? What is the situation?
Well, under Bulgarian law, the families of non-heterosexual people are not recognized, meaning same-sex couples are not recognized in any way in the law. So they not only cannot legalize their family, but they are deprived also from protection from domestic violence. They cannot inherit each other, and all other rights that are accessible for different sex couples are not accessible for them.
What about adoption?
Neither the adoption. So one of them can adopt a child, but under the law, two different people can adopt one child only if they are married from different sex.
A few months ago, Sofia celebrated its Pride Parade, like many other cities in Europe and across the globe as well. There was a big stage at the Pride Parade, and lots of ambassadors, lots of European ambassadors, the American one and the Israeli one, they stood on the stage and they demonstrated solidarity with the Bulgarian LGBT community. But what you did not see any Bulgarian officials doing the same. What is that about?
Well, I believe that this is a general issue with Bulgarian politicians. They in general lack understanding of the real problems of citizens in Bulgaria. The first thing that is the issue. The second thing that is the issue is that LGBTI issues are not recognized in any way from the Bulgarian political parties, and because of that they also don't include in their political programs any of those issues.
In everyday life, what do people experience who are openly gay or openly lesbian in Bulgaria?
Well, there are different levels of being opened. For example, you can be opened but still not hold the hand of your partner on the street, for example. You can be opened before your friends, in your small circle. You can create a small bubble where you're openly gay or transgender, but still be in safe environment. I guess this is the case with most of the openly gay and transgender people in Bulgaria. There are very few cases of those who are so openly gay or transgender that inform about these facts just random people all around for different reasons. So unfortunately, the second case, those people that are very open are exposed often are exposed in discrimination, in hate crimes. There are victims of hate crimes in Bulgaria too, of course. There are many cases of people who have been attacked on the street or in bars. So this is what happens with them.
As far as I know, I'm an expat, but as far as I know, there are some openly gay people in the Bulgarian showbiz on television. Are they being accepted?
Well, there used to be such a show hosted by a child singer. Child, as you know, is kind of music in Bulgaria, the so-called turbo folk music. His name is Aziz and he's internationally famous. He is kind of openly gay, but unfortunately he has never communicated publicly any positive messages towards LGBTI equality, visibility, about why other LGBTI people should be openly gay, about what issues do gay people face. Actually, his public messages has been right the opposite. He's been against Sofia Pride. He's been very reluctant to admit that there is discrimination in Bulgarian society. Actually, he says that Bulgarian society is very maybe not accepting, but tolerant, and so on. So these few cases of very famous people who are openly gay or lesbian in Bulgaria are usually cases of people who deny that there is discrimination in Bulgaria or who avoid talking about these issues.
Do you think there's a difference what the treatment is concerned of the treatment of people, of Bulgarians who are openly gay and those who are openly lesbian? What kind of difference is there regarding the treatment?
So the discrimination that comes from legislation, of course, affects us all. And of course, as in many other places, gay women are treated better way than gay men. Of course, there is internal gradation, and this is because of the sexism in society. You know, maybe that it's often the case that lesbians, gay women, are kind of a sexist, erotic fantasy of many straight men. And this is the reason why, generally in society, same-sex couples that are female are more accepted, and also it is society is used with the fantasy that pornographic industry creates about gay women, because it utilizes very often the sexual acts between women. I mean the pornography. While this is not the case with men. You know, intimacy between men is sanctioned. It is deemed disgusting, it is deemed sin, etc., etc. So the stigma is stronger with gay men. And then comes the transgender people, which are the ultimate image of exotic, you know, creature, in brackets, let's say it so, because this is the ultimate point where a male body stops being male and wants to be something else, which is going totally against the understanding of the gender standards in society. So the transgender people, I believe, are the mostly affected from discrimination. Then are the gay men, and then are the lesbian women, which are not particularly less a target of discrimination, but targeted in a different way.
Well, you are actually one of the very few fighters for gay rights in Bulgaria. Do you feel, because it must be really difficult, this kind of work, do you feel you're running against a wall, or do you feel you have made some headway as well?
Well, when there are very few people who do something, it's very hard for you to work on the issue, because there are so many things to be done, and so many fields when something to be done is needed. So there is work in the field of legislation, there is work in the field of healthcare services, there is work in the field of education, social issues, many fields. Currently there are also issues with, you know, refugees, asylum seekers, migrants. So at certain moment you feel like you need to be like Buddha with 100 hands, trying to hold everything and do everything and know everything. You're needed as expert in everything, which is very hard, and you can't do it actually. And people expect from you to do it because they saw you on television talking about these issues, and they already have expectations that you can handle everything, which is very hard and not really possible. So what I've been doing particularly is mostly activities in the field of strategic litigation, and more specifically tackling hate speech in media, and some activities in the field of education, but not in the field of working with education in terms of the system of education, but educating the community.
So there is a lot of homophobia and a lot of discrimination against gays, against lesbians, against transgender. Where does all of that come from? It's probably not a Bulgarian phenomenon. I mean, you have it in Russia, you have it in other parts of Eastern Europe. What are your thoughts on that?
I think in every part of the world it comes from the same place. Human behavior is not a simple thing. It's very hard to say that there is one single reason for any aspect of the human behavior. So usually it is a contribution of many different aspects, of many different things that gather together as impact factors. Or for some people it's one of them, for others it's another one, or many other combinations of factors. So what I would prefer to stress on is that the intolerance in Bulgaria, the discrimination, the profile of the discrimination in Bulgaria is a bit specific, and it is marked by the denial. So even though the discrimination is everyday thing in Bulgaria, and it's not just about LGBTI people, it's also about Roma people. Currently it's xenophobia against refugees and migrants. There is this specific thing in Bulgaria that we want to believe about ourselves. If you ask many people on the street, is there intolerance in Bulgaria? Probably a lot of them, maybe most of them, will tell you no, because Bulgaria is traditionally tolerant society. This is vanity that we like. Many people love to think this about Bulgaria, that we are a very tolerant society. Why? Because for so many centuries we lived with Turks in the Ottoman Empire, and we have so many Roma people and they live here, hence we are tolerant. But this is not actually true at all. First of all, the word tolerance bothers me, because to be tolerant is... What does it mean to be tolerant? It means that you tolerate something, you don't accept it, but you tolerate it, you allow it in a way, you give it its space to exist, but still you don't accept it. So I think this is the key. There is no acceptance in Bulgaria. Maybe there is tolerance, I don't know. But if you turn the question in another way, if you don't ask the people, is there tolerance, is there acceptance in Bulgaria, is there discrimination? If you ask them about specific things like, would you agree, would you vote for an openly gay candidate for president? If you change the question in that way, or would you feel comfort about an openly gay teacher to teach your child? I think the answers will rapidly change. So this kind of denial is general in Bulgaria. From one side it is LGBT people who deny the discrimination, many of them of course, not all of them, that deny discrimination in order to tackle psychologically the issue. And there is the general denial in society because we don't like to admit that we are intolerant after all.